and LT. Previous slide 1 of 34. Next slide in GT. The love sculpture at Paradise Ridge Winery was singed but otherwise not damaged by the tub's fire, which leveled the Santa Rosa winery. Peter Byck, whose brother, Rene, runs the winery, said, "The temple behind the love sculpture is the temple of remembrance, which is to remember those we've lost. When a wildfire sparks, Berger drops everything and heads for the flames. As a photojournalist, capturing California's fires is part of the job description. But Berger is the first to admit his wildfire-chasing borders on obsession. There's something magical about it," he said. "It's beautiful and horrible at the same time." For Berger, during the 3 months of California's wildfire season, fire is priority. On October 8, as people began fleeing the deadly wine country wildfires, Berger rushed toward the flames. He stayed 5 days, photographing almost around the clock and grabbing snatches of sleep in his car. Wine country fires. Firefighters expect full containment by Friday last weekend, when the wine country fires began reaching higher containment levels. Berger took a breather at home, but he returned to the North Bay Monday. The next day, he was in Santa Cruz, photographing a fire in the mountains. It felt like fire season had passed, Berger said of the weeks preceding the wine country fires. But I guess not. Quite the contrary. Berger, who's been photographing wildfires for a decade, says he's never seen a fire on the scale of the blazes that tore through wine country. "I don't think anyone who's been in California for years has ever seen this," he said, adding that the scale, in terms of loss of life and property, was evident even without consulting the official numbers. "It was different than what I'm used to seeing," he said. And Berger has seen a lot when it comes to fires. Berger is also quick to acknowledge the tragedy inherent to wildfires. Lives lost, homes destroyed, livelihoods gone up in smoke. Context, he says, is essential, both for comprehending the emotional weight of the event and conveying a wildfire's scale within a photograph. Without a human element, a singed car, a soot-covered rooftop, viewers strain to comprehend the size and power of the fires. San Francisco Chronicle staff photographer Scott Strazzanti rarely gets nose-to-nose with the flames. "I typically deal with the aftermath," he says, photographing people who were affected by the fires. Strazzanti is often one of the first people on the scene after a fire has ravaged a town. Members of the media have incredible access to wildfires, and he's found himself acting as a grief counselor. "Sometimes people just need someone to talk to or want something photographed," he says. When it comes to items destroyed by fire, Chronicle staff photographer Gabrielle Lurie says people most often lament losing their personal photographs. "It's ironic to be documenting people who lost their photos," she says, "but it really makes you realize the power of photography." Lost and found. Items rescued from the ruins. Lurie talks about fire scenes as if they're settings of post-apocalyptic literature. Empty, vast, lacking trees or birds. What does remain standing, she says, is often covered in a chalky film of ash. When working in such unforgiving conditions, Lurie says coming prepared is the only option, especially if you want to pass the CAL FIRE evacuation line. She carries more than 30 pounds of gear on a typical shoot, including multiple cameras, lenses, and a fire tent. The days are long and weighed down by heat. Sleep comes in snatches, and often in the cramped quarters of one's car. This temporary suspension of daily life and its grievances is a source. Berger's fire photo fascination. To come back and shoot things that are not fire is hard, he says. When you're out there, you're just entirely engrossed in it. You feel very alive. Read Michelle Robertson's latest stories and send her news tips at mrobertson@sfachronicle.com. Related slideshow. Deadliest wildfires in California history. Provided by Reuters. Deadliest wildfires in California history.